On to the last part of this video. We're gonna talk about books that I have borrowed from other people and I'm currently reading. First, let's get this out of the way. This is my own Bible, so I won't be talking about that one. This is read every single week. This is my book. I didn't borrow it from somebody else. Okay, so there are 3 people and some of them do watch my videos, I know. So there are 3 people whose bookshelves I've been raiding. So there's Rachel, who provided most of the books here, and Juliana, I got about 1 or 2 books from her, and then also my friend Alex, whose book is no longer here, but I will talk about it. So let's start with the books that I have actually read. I haven't read a whole lot from this, so let's just start with this one. So I got this book, Normal People by Sally Rooney, from Rachel, right? And I got it because I had been listening to a lot of booktube people talk and rave about this book. Everybody is like, we love it and it's amazing. It's the most well-written book ever. But also, on the other hand, I did find some other people who are not as impressed. And I must say, I am one of those people who are not as impressed with this book. I think I went into it with high expectations for it to be one of the most revolutionary books in terms of like just making you feel like you understand and purpose of life, or maybe like to see yourself in the reflections of these characters. But for me, I found it to be the least relatable book I've ever read in my entire life. And I read quite a diverse selection of books from different authors than me, or different storylines, but this has to be hands down the most unrelatable book I've ever read. It's about these 2 high school kids who are performing really well in high school, and one is very popular, the other is not very popular. They link up, they like each other, and then they also move on to university together, and it's an exploration of their lives as they become like young adults and what kind of challenges they face within their relationship as well as with other people. They tend to try to like not be together, but circumstances and their love for each other keeps pulling them back together. Why I found it so unrelatable, honestly, is that they were so young. Like if we start from like when they were in high school, they were very young, and the things they were doing, I was just like, what kind of households are you people growing up in? But I understand it's like, perhaps it's a cultural thing. It's just maybe like where I'm from, like I don't know anyone that like lives like this, I was just like, it's so cringy. It's way more steamy than I thought, and uncomfortable because they were so young. Like uncomfortable for me. It was just like the things they were going through. I kept wondering like, why is it okay for them to do this in your mom's house? Like what? And then also just like how we don't ever get, like, at least for me, I never got the closure for one of the characters, because she comes from a very troubled home and all that. Like I never got the closure of why that is, like why her family despises her so much. And maybe I missed something. Please let me know in the comment section if you think that I missed something about that, because I felt like, so like, why did they hate her so much and treat her so differently? And like we only got to see the parts where she's acting out because of what was going on at home, but why it was going on at home, we never really fully figured out. Then at some points they're exploring Europe and doing all these crazy stuff, meeting very shady people, and I'm just like, you people are lucky to even be alive, considering like what you're exposing yourselves to. Either I grew up very sheltered, or maybe because my parents were strict, I don't know, like these things just wouldn't happen. They just wouldn't happen. So I was just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And also like it really didn't speak to me. So one of the things I didn't like about the writing style itself is the fact that the author chooses not to write dialogue in quotation marks, and so that took me a while to like get used to. Once I got used to it, it was fine, but like in the beginning I was just like, wait, who's talking, who said what, like what? But that's apparently a Sally Rooney thing to do. But I just wanted to kind of echo the voices on on the YouTube streets that's like, okay, this might not be the best book for everyone. Just like really check the backside and see if this is something you would eat up. But yeah, like for me, no, it's a total no. And then I read from Rachel. Again, A Psalm for the Wild Built. This one was very interesting. I had to restart the first chapter twice because I was trying too hard to understand, like, I guess I don't read a lot of sci-fi or fantasy, and so it was harder for me to realize like what's important in the story here. And so I was trying to like really keep the names of these gods in my head, but then once I read it the second time, I was just like, okay, let's just move on with the story. And the story is so beautiful. It's about this robot and a monk who form a friendship, and they're exploring each other's worlds from a very like naive perspective on both their parts. It seems like the story is set in a world in the future whereby like AI and robots have kind of separated from human, and humans are self-sufficient on their own and the robots are self-sufficient, but there's a curiosity from both sides about how the two civilizations ended up developing. And so we learn a lot about robots and about humans from the perspective of a robot. It's rather short. It's rather short, and I did feel like the story could have gone a bit longer because, you know, I wanted to see like what happens when they reach the other villages and whatnot. So it's 147 pages, so very quick read. But yeah, I absolutely enjoyed it. And now I have been looking for other books by Becky Chambers, because if she writes like this all the time, then I'm excited to pick them up. So now comes the books that I haven't read at all. Oh my God. Okay, so let's do like a quick rapid fire. We've got here The War on Women and the Brave Ones Who Fight Back by Lloyd Roberts and Sarah Morris. I'll just read like the praise from the other people. So it says, it's a devastating summation that across the world, women still get the sharp end of the stick. It's brilliant and indefatigable. I can't even read that. She set the standard for bravery, the bravest, most intrepid and honest reporter. She had something you call moral courage. So I already feel like this is just gonna break my heart and make me annoyed at the world. So I want to save this for a moment when I actually feel like I can carry that burden. You know what I mean? And then this is called British by Afua Hirsch, which says, you're British, your parents are British, your partner, your children, and most of your friends are British, so why do people keep asking where you're from? And clearly this is going to be an immigrant story and the discussion around race and belonging. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this as well, but just like the other one, I feel like I'm going to get very annoyed, and so I'm saving it. I also have here One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I think is a classic for a lot of readers. I just had never had the opportunity to read this. It is written by Ken Kesey. Yes, and it says it's a roar of protest against middle-brow society's rules and the rulers who enforce them. So I think that might just say like we're gonna see a lot of crazy things happening here. The font is very small. I remember I tried to like pick it up and I was just like, why is the font so small? But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one because in my head, I haven't really heard people talk about it, but in my head, it should be funny. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then I have an anticipated read, and this is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. And this is supposed to be a very, very sad tale. So they say this is a groundbreaking masterpiece, extraordinary story of two people bound by blood, separated by so much more than time. It's evocative, often troubling. Novels explore far-reaching issues of race, sex, power, and ultimately what it means to be human. Like, no, I can't even. This is gonna be like somebody traveling back in time to a time when they would have been enslaved by other people. So like, I'm already crying, but at the same time, I'm like, should I read this? Should I read this next? Should this be my next read? Okay. And then we have William Golding and Lord of the Flies. And this was a Nobel Prize literature winner, Nobel Prize for literature winner. And on the back, some of the praise says that it's beautiful and desperate, something quite out of the ordinary, terrifying and haunting, beautifully written, tragic and provocative. Honestly, one of the things I find most provocative about this is the cover. I'm like, what are these creatures? I need to know. They look like humans, they look like geckos, there are leaves falling, there's fires everywhere. Like, I need to know what Lord of the Flies is about. Like, honestly, I need to know. But I was talking to my roommate and she said she didn't quite like it. So let me know if you have read it and if you have enjoyed it, and maybe I will read it next. I don't really have an order to which I'm gonna read these books. Okay, so we're quick rolling here. I'm gonna show you 2 books which I got from the Ganju Wellbeing Service, and that's the psychology department on my campus. They also have like a bookshelf that you can borrow books from them. They're mostly like self-help or like psychology-based books, things to help you, like resources to help you get over stuff. So I got this one, Overcoming Panic and Agoraphobia, which was recommended to me by my psychologist that I'm currently seeing, because about like 3 weeks ago I had a panic attack of some sort, and I was asking him like if there's like resources he knows that could help me out to kind of prevent that from ever happening again. And then so this was written by Derek Silove and Vijaya. Can I please not pronounce this because I feel like I'm going to mess it up. So Derek and Vijaya wrote this book, and I wouldn't say I'm in a hurry to read it, but since we only get 2 weeks on this book, I should probably be reading it. Right. And then from the same library, I have Lean In, which is a book that I have been wanting to read. It's about women in business. I've been wanting to read this since maybe 5 years ago, since I knew that it came out. And this is by Sheryl Sandberg. And I think she at the time was the chief operating officer at Facebook. And I think she's just talking about women and leadership positions, how to get there and how to like keep yourself sane or whatever. So it's just one of those books that I feel like as a woman who is in business herself, you always need to have great examples of people who have achieved the things you're trying to achieve. Right, so there's that one. Okay. So the chunkiest boy on this list is by V.E. Schwab, and this is called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And I think I've seen this so many times on YouTube from so many book content creators, booktubers, and I didn't know anything about this author or anything about this series or whatever. I picked it up from my friend Rachel because I thought it looked familiar. I was like, hey, I have to have that. So yeah, she was like, sure, borrow it. I think this will probably be the last book that I read on this entire shelf, because honestly, well, it's actually not too bad. It's only, I mean, it's the chunkiest book here for sure. It's around 500 and something pages. So that's like 2 normal books for me. 545 or 44 rather. So yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it until the end. So I'm in no hurry whatsoever to pick up this book. And then here's one that I got from a friend, Juliana. And this is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which I am currently more than midway through, and I feel like I can finish it between today and tomorrow. And this book says, in a small back alley in Tokyo, there is a cafe which has been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years, but this coffee shop offers customers a unique experience, the chance to travel time. In this book, we meet 4 visitors, each of whom is hoping to make use of the cafe's time-traveling offer in order to confront the lover who left them, receive a letter from their husband whose memory has begun to fade, see their sister one last time, and meet the daughter they never got the chance to know. So like, it's like these sad stories really, but then people get a chance to like go back in time, see that person one last time. But as far as we know right now, it's like, okay, even if you're going back in time, you can't really change the future. So it's more so like for yourself to get closure on things. I would say that it's not, I mean, I will finish it, but it's currently not living up to the expectations that I had. People were just raving about this book, and I felt like for me, in the very beginning chapters, I told my roommate this, I said, it's way too descriptive and too repetitive for me. Like, I don't know why we had to be told so many times about the color of the lampshades in the cafe and how hot it is outside but the cafe stays cool. I don't know why we had to know so many times about, you know, like the names of the people sitting on the tables when their stories were not yet relevant. You know, I feel like in the first chapter we're introduced and bombarded with so many characters, and you don't know which ones are going to be important. It turns out only like 2 of them are important in the first story. And I feel like rather than just pushing all the characters at us in a go, the author could have just like kind of taken us step by step with each story introducing a different character. But I don't know, that's just my preference. I felt like it was all too much, and then the things I deemed to be unimportant were repeated way too often. You know what I mean? It was just like, why are we being told this? Even when it comes to the rules of like the time traveling aspect, it was so repetitive. It was so repetitive. And I know this is a Japanese author, so his name is Toshikazu Kawaguchi. And the book was originally written in Japanese and it's been translated by someone else. And sometimes I wonder if there's like an issue with like the translation, because I don't know. There's a friend of mine who has read this book in Japanese, and I want to just finish it so I can discuss it with her, because I need to know like how repetitive is this in Japanese. Like, I feel like whoever did the translation, I kind of want to blame them. You know, like I feel like this could have been done better. Just, I don't know. Anyways, but it's okay. It's an okay book, and the concept is fine. It's nothing too dramatic so far. Like, there is one thing that I haven't figured out that I'm excited to figure out about one of the characters who is always there. And maybe once I figure that, maybe that's going to be the twist that kind of like, you know, makes me excited. But right now I just feel like it's an okay book. Okay, and the 2 last books on this are Hood Feminism. Hood Feminism is by Miki Kendall, and this is Notes from the Women That White Feminists Forgot. This is absolutely amazing title. So some of the praise says that this is the feminist intervention we have all been waiting for. This book is an act of fierce love, advocacy, and it is urgently necessary. And Miki Kendall is calling out white feminists here, and it's long overdue that we drop our defenses, listen to other arguments, and then change our entire way of thinking and behaving in the growing public conversation about race, class, status, privilege, and power. This text is essential reading. And Gabrielle Union also gave her praise. So I love Gabrielle Union. I read her book, We're Gonna Need More Wine. Absolutely funny, hilarious, and just beautifully written memoir. So she says, Miki's book is a rousing call to action for today's feminists. This book armed me with hard facts and compelling arguments that I can bring to this all-important fight. Hood Feminism should be required reading for everyone. And I have started reading Hood Feminism, but I am still way in the beginning. So yes, I will continue reading that. And finally, we have a book in Japanese that I've had since last year, which I kind of just want to read, not for the story, but just to like practice reading hiragana, katakana, and a little bit of kanji. So this is a different genre of book, but yeah, it also does not belong to me. I got it from the book exchange, so once I finish it, I'm going to return it. So there you have it, people. Today was a fun day talking about books I have read, books I'm currently reading, books I still want to be reading. Please let me know in the comment section if you are familiar with any of the books that I talked about today. If you heard me being hesitant and you want me to really read a book, let me know about it. Also tell me what you're currently reading, and maybe that could be on my next to be read list or to be bought list once my book ban is over. So just to wrap up this video, I am still on my book buying ban. I haven't bought a single book in 2023, and I intend on keeping it this way. I have a lot of books to read, and I'm thankful to even have this many books to read. So I'm going to focus on finishing them. And with your encouragement as well, I hope that I can give you a very nice update at the end of the year. If you guys would like me to do like book reading vlogs where I actually give my ultimate reviews on books, such as like ratings and maybe reactions to scenes, please let me know in the comment section below, and I can just happily do that because I read all the time. All right, thank you for staying with me. Ciao, ciao, guys. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Mwah.